Hi guys, welcome to this new class. Today we are going to learn about relative clauses, how to use them and how to form them. So let's go. First of all, we have to know what is a relative clause. Okay, we can use relative clauses to join two English sentences or to give more information about something or somebody. We have two examples here. Here we have two separated sentences, okay? Two separated ideas. The first one, I bought a new car, and they are separated by a period. And the second one, it is very fast. Okay, here they are not together, they are not mixed in one sentence. Now, what we are going to do is join them with a relative clause, okay? So, if we join them, we're going to have this new sentence. I bought a new car that is very fast. Now we can see that we joined the two sentences in just one with a relative clause, okay? The second one, we have these two sentences. She lives in New York and she likes living in New York. We are going to join these two sentences to form just one and to give more information about something or somebody. For example, she lives in New York, which she likes. Okay? We're giving more information about what? About New York. Why? Because she likes it. She likes the city. Now, we have to know what are the relative pronouns. The relative pronouns are the words used to introduce or join the additional information about the object of the sentence. Okay? In this case, we have these three relative pronouns. We have who, that is used for talking about people. We have which, that is used for talking about animals and things. And that is used for both, for people or for animals and things. Now we have two types of relative clauses. They are classified in defining and non-defining relative clauses. First, a defining relative clause tells which noun we are talking about. Gives specific information about the person of the object that we are talking about. For example, I like the woman who lives next door. Now pay attention. If I don't say who lives next door, if I don't say this part of the sentence, who lives next door, then we don't know which woman I mean. We would be just saying I like the woman, but we wouldn't know which woman we're talking about. Now, we can find the defining relative clauses in two forms. The relative clause can come after the subject or the object of the sentence. We can't drop the relative pronoun. We have to write it always or say it always. Now, we are going to read out some examples with the relative clause after the object of the sentence, okay? Now look, the object is the one that is in color green. The first one, I'm looking for a secretary who can use a computer well, or that can use a computer well. Remember, we can use who for talking about people, or that is used for talking about people or objects. In this case, we're talking about the object, a secretary, who can use a computer well. She has a son who is a doctor, or that is a doctor. Who is a doctor? The son. We bought a house which is 200 years old. What is 200 years old? The house, the object. I sent a letter that arrived 3 weeks later. What arrived 3 weeks later? The letter. We can see that in every example we have the relative clause right after the object. Now we have defining relative clauses, but with the relative clause after the subject of the sentence. Look that the subject of the sentence is in color yellow. The people who live on the island are very friendly. The man who phoned is my brother. So if we look at the additional information, we're going to realize that we're talking about the subject. Who phoned? The man. Who lives on the island? The people. The camera, which costs £100, is over there. What costs £100? The camera. The house that belongs to Julie is in London. What belongs to Julie? The house, the subject of the sentence. Now we're going to talk about non-defining relative clauses, okay? We also can find them in two forms. But look at this. With the non-defining clauses, we don't use that. Okay, so we need to use which if the pronoun refers to a thing, and who if it refers to a person. And we can't drop the relative pronoun in these kind of clauses. For example, we can find the clause after the subject of the sentence. My boss, who is very nice, lives in Manchester. Look at this. We have the relative clause right after the subject, and we are using who because my boss is a person. My sister, who I live with, knows a lot about cars. My bicycle, which I've had for more than 10 years, is falling apart. My mother's house, which I grew up in, is very small. So look, the relative clauses start here with the relative pronoun and end with the period. These are the relative clauses. We can also find the relative clause after the object of the sentence. For example, yesterday I called our friend Julie, who lives in New York. Who lives in New York? Our friend Julie. So we are talking about the object of the sentence. As I told you, you can find the subject in yellow and the object in green. The photographer called to the queen, who looked annoyed. Who looked annoyed? The queen. Last week, I bought a new computer, which I don't like now. I really love the new Chinese restaurant, which we went to last night. Now we're going to talk about preposition and relative clauses. If the verb in the relative clause needs a preposition like to, with, from, or for, we put it at the end of the clause. For example, with listen to, we have two ideas or two sentences. The music is good and Julie listens to the music. If we join these two sentences and make them with a relative clause, we're going to have the music that Julie listens to is good. And we're putting the preposition at the end of the sentence. With work with, we have these two sentences. My brother met a woman and I used to work with the woman. If we join these two ideas, we're going to have this sentence. My brother met a woman who I used to work with. Look, we're always putting the preposition at the end of the sentence. With go to, the country is very hot and he went to the country. If we join these two sentences, we're going to have the country that he went to is very hot. We are always using the preposition at the final part of the sentence. With come from, we have these two sentences. I visited the city and John comes from the city. If we join them, we're going to have I visited the city that John comes from. Always the preposition at the end, at the final part of the sentence. Apply for. We have these two sentences. The job is well paid and she applied for the job. If we join these two parts, these two sentences, we're going to have the job which she applied for is well paid. Okay guys, thank you very much for paying attention. I hope you liked the class and I'll see you in a new one. Bye bye.